Alrighty, and we're back. Welcome everybody to tonight's live stream, where we are covering the topics of why access and inclusion is good for your business. So tonight is part 3 out of 6, and we are going to be having a closer look at the untapped market. If you're new to this stream, please, you can start anywhere, but I really encourage people to watch all of them. They don't need to be in succession. But they are really, really valuable, and they are really, really full of good tips and tricks on how you can increase your customer base. Okay, because as we're about to find out, this is a large market. So, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and community. We pay our respects to them and their cultures, and to their elders, both past and present. Must always remember that under the asphalt and concrete, this land is, was and always will be traditional Aboriginal land. We'd also like to acknowledge the Department of Communities Disability Services for funding this and many other initiatives. Without their support, so many projects such as Two Wise Monkeys would never see the light of day, and as a community we would be so much poorer for it. So this workshop is part of the Realities and Advantages of Access and Inclusion grant awarded to 30-Foot Drop as part of the Information Linkages and Capacity Building grants of 2018 to 2019. Now, before we dive into the meat of tonight's webinar, first we just got a little bit of housekeeping to cover. So first up, unfortunately, we don't have the resources to monitor all of our live streams during our sessions. So if you want to ask any questions or interact with us live, okay, please head to www.30footdrop.com.au/live. Okay, the address is just below me. Okay, at any time, ask any question. Okay, now we'll be covering a lot of information in a short period of time. So we recommend that attendees take what measures they can to minimise distractions. If you enjoy today and you like what we're doing and what we're about, please follow us on social media. We're on all the major platforms. Follow us there, give us a like, chuck a comment, give us a rating. All of this helps to get the word out there. And on top of that, we'll actually be recording this session, okay? We record every single live session we do, and we actually post it so that people can review it, okay? They can either be found on the 30-Foot Drop Vimeo library or our YouTube channel. And as a result of it being recorded, if you know of anybody that you think could benefit greatly from what we're doing here tonight, please share it with them. We'll be referencing research during our session today. All the sources that we reference are available in the 30-Foot Drop digital library. Okay? And at the end of the webinar, we have a short survey for attendees to complete. Please, please, please take the time to fill this out. Okay? It's 6 questions, 30 seconds, and it really, really helps us out. So, for those that don't know me, allow me to introduce myself. I am Ben Aldridge. I am the Managing Director of 30-Foot Drop and a C5 quadriplegic. I am see no evil. I am see no evil because it is very, very obvious that I have an impairment. It is very hard to hide wheels attached to you in order to get around, i.e. a wheelchair. But by the end of tonight, hopefully you will gain enough knowledge that you will see no evil about disability impairment. My co-presenter, who isn't here tonight but does a lot of the other webinars, is Lisa. Lisa is Hear No Evil. I won't tell her story because I think it's amazing, and if you get an opportunity to listen to it, it is great. But in short, she has an invisible impairment, like a lot of people. But the thing about invisible impairments is that unless the person tells you, you never know. That is why she is Hear No Evil. Because with the knowledge that you gain here tonight, you will hear no evil about disability and impairment. But isn't there normally 3 monkeys? There's normally 3 wise monkeys, I'm pretty sure there is. There is. So, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. So, who is the 3rd monkey? You, watching this right now. By the end of today, or by the end of this session, you will leave here with the knowledge that you gain speaking no evil about disability and impairment. So, with the introductions out of the way, let's do a quick overview of what we're going to be covering tonight. Excuse me, just need to turn my notes over. Okay, there is a lot to learn about people with impairment and their potential impacts on your business. Okay, so first of all, we're going to actually examine the size of the market segment that people with impairment represent, explaining who they are and how big a potential customer base you were talking about. Then we're going to have a look at the potential impacts they can have on your business. Okay, now we're not just going to cover the negative impacts, we're also going to talk about the positive impacts that planning for people with impairment can have on your business. So, after covering all this, we're going to finish off with a bit of an open forum session before wrapping up. Okay? The open forum session is where we give you an opportunity to ask any questions and we can answer them. So how are we going to cover all this? What's going to be our teaching method? Well, here at 30 Foot Drop, okay, we believe in educating the community through open, honest conversations. Now, open, honest conversations are always easier when they're fun. So, feel free to ask any questions that you have, and none are off limit, okay? It is open, honest conversation. It's free slather tonight, and it doesn't even have to be about what we're covering, okay? Any questions at all. Now, you will notice there is very little written content on my slides. Okay, that's because you're here to interact with me. Okay, you're not here... If I wanted you guys to read slides, I'd just send you the PDF or the PDF version of this, and you could read through it yourself. Okay, that's not what you're here for. You're here to interact with me. Now, in order to facilitate this, I really encourage you to head over to www.30footdrop.com.au/live and take part in the chat that you find there. Okay, you'll find it a lot more rewarding and a lot more interactive if you take part. Final thing before we get into the good stuff. Okay, I just want to go through some terminology. Now, this is to reduce confusion and ensure understanding of what I'm talking about. Okay, because there is words out there that have been corrupted or swapped about. Okay, so the first one is disability and impairment. Okay, these two words are often used interchangeably when people think about it, or when people use it. You know, you stop and think about it. Okay, disability is used all the time. Now, the thing is that often when people talk about disability, they are actually talking about impairment. Let me explain. An impairment is an injury, illness, or congenital condition that causes or is likely to cause a loss or difference of physiological or psychological function. Okay? In short, your impairment is your medical diagnosis. Your impairment is the words that are used to describe how you function in day-to-day life differently from the norm. Okay? So, for example, my impairment is that I'm a C5 quadriplegic with post-traumatic stress in remission. So that is my impairment. That is how I differ. A disability, on the other hand, okay, and this is where it gets different. A disability is the loss or limitation of opportunities to take part in society, okay, on an equal level, okay. Sorry, let me start that again. Overheated a little bit today. I'm a little bit fuzzy-minded, but please bear with me. A disability is the loss or limitation of opportunities to take part in society on an equal level with others, often due to societal and environmental barriers. Okay? It is, as the word implies, okay, if you think about it, you stop and think about disability or disable, okay? So disable is something that makes you unable. So a disability is something that makes you unable to participate or access in something, okay? Often people think that the disability is the fact that I'm in a wheelchair, but it's not. The disability is the barriers that are put in my way. And bear in mind, when I say environmental, I'm not just talking about nature. Okay, environmental can be anything within our sphere. Okay, so sidewalks that don't have ramps, shops that don't have accessible toilets, things like that. Hopefully that's made sense to everybody. If not, please, like I said, pop over to the 30-foot drop live page, okay, and chuck a question in the chat below and I'll come back and discuss it. Let's go on to the next bit of terminology, okay? And that is the difference between access and inclusion, okay? Often businesses clump these together in one whole package saying, access and inclusion. And they think that it just means it's 3 words for one thing, but it's not. Access is completely different to inclusion, okay? Access refers to the removal or reduction of barriers, both physical and attitudinal, to the participation in the activities and functions of a community, okay? At its heart, at its core, access focuses a lot on the physical world around us. Okay, when people talk about access, they're talking about the physical barriers around us. So that step that I mentioned earlier, okay, that is an access issue. Solving these issues is really easy. There are standards out there, there is checklists out there that people can follow, and advice is easy to find. Now, as a result of it being so easy and being an easy win, a lot of businesses seem to focus just on the access, okay, and don't worry about anything else. And they say, yeah, we've done our access and inclusion, it's all good. But it's not, because inclusion is something different. Inclusion is more a psychological state of being, okay? It's the process whereby every person, and I mean every person, okay, so this is irrespective of age, impairment, gender, religion, sexual preference, or nationality, okay? So it's the process whereby every person who wishes to can participate fully, okay? Not partially, not on the side, not, oh yep, we've got somebody in a wheelchair here in the room, it's all good, okay? Fully in the activity or service in the same way as any member of the community. How I see inclusion is knowing that if I go to a place and I know that my opinion, my thoughts are taken seriously, that they count, that people don't just dismiss me because I'm in a wheelchair. That's inclusion. Now, I hope that's made sense to everybody. If not, like I said, 30-foot drop live page, please chuck any questions you have in there. These sort of differences are very important and will really help deepen your understanding of what we're talking about. Okay, with the terminology review out of the way, let's get into good stuff. Recognizing your target market, okay? Look, this is... Sorry. Oh. So this is really interesting. And first of all, I want to actually take a look back in time, okay, at a case study that has played its way out, okay, and is amazing. So here we go. So here's a business idea, and it's a great business idea. It's awesome. Ignore a potential market. Sounds like a great business idea, doesn't it? Funnily enough, that's what many sports and athletics-related businesses did until they realised in the mid-90s that they had been passing on an absolute goldmine. Okay? Guess what that market was? Women. Yeah, that other half of the population. Okay, they had been missing out on a massive market. Obviously because some people thought that they should just be playing with Barbie dolls, okay? Now you see, the 90s were a turning point, okay? Because NBC's 1996 Summer Olympic Games coverage targeted women much more than previously, okay? And many more female-orientated sports leagues, for example, soccer and basketball, got into the spotlight. Suddenly, people were aware that they were able to take part. As a result, apparel and equipment lines and sport-related advertisements emerged targeting this part of the population. And now it is a massive part of their business. Okay? Up until the mid-90s, this market had been ignored. Well, but it was, and it's odd. Imagine that take myself back and go into the patriarchy. Imagine women would actually be interested in doing the same things as other humans, such as sports. Yeah, it's true. Okay. Well, could many businesses once again be ignoring and missing other potential markets? Okay. Consider, for example, a population that has clear, persistent needs. Okay? This market has clear, persistent needs, same as the female-orientated sportswear. Okay? The sportswear needs to be a different shape. They have their needs. Okay? Well, this potential market that I'm talking about has exactly the same problem. We have clear, persistent needs, and they're not being adequately fulfilled. This population spans the world, is growing and includes very motivated customers. Now, since this population is currently being underserved and misunderstood by many businesses, the customers would be grateful and, as a result, loyal to those that take the plunge and do it first. On top of that, this is a population that has a growing disposable income. The introduction of the NDIS has done wonders. Previously, under a lot of the different state systems, people with impairment were having to spend part of their pension on the necessities that they required for day-to-day life that weren't covered by the state system. The NDIS has changed that, and as a result, they've got a growing disposable income. Now, obviously, I've just given it away because I've already referenced people with impairment, but that's it. That is the population that I'm talking about. And the thing is that in this current business climate, margins are always tight. Finding a new or neglected population is gold. Beating your competitors to a market and getting in there first, building a reputation, is gold. So here's the thing. How big a market share do you think that I'm talking about? Now, let's have a closer look. Here's the Australian population, That's 100% of the Australian population. All right? Now, the thing about this market is that, yes, approximately 1 in 5 people have some form of impairment, but a lot of them can still use the normal goods and services. That's why a lot of people tend to ignore it. But here's the thing, 5% of the population, 1 in 20 of us, 1 in 20, have a profound or severe impairment. This is an impairment that this is a form of impairment that makes it so that people require assistance or have difficulty with mobility, communication, or self-care. These are people like me I'm talking about. That's 5%. Straight up, right there, bang. But, add on top of that, of course, the 4% of the population that are the primary unpaid carers of people with impairment, and suddenly you're looking at a minimum of 9% of the population. That's almost 1 in 10. 1 in 10, that you could actually be trying to tap into. But, to be completely honest, I'm actually underselling it, because People like me, I very rarely actually go out shopping on my own. Okay, I very rarely go out for dinner alone. I'm a social person. Okay, I go out. I take my wife and my son. Neighbours might come with me. Okay. So yes, you're making it so that this smaller segment of the population can access and be included in your goods and services. But their reach is quite wide, and something that we will get into. So, you may ask, okay, that if it is such a big market, and let's face it, this is a big market that I'm talking about, then surely they are already being served. Okay? Surely people aren't going to overlook it. Aren't there items, services, and events such as Paralympic Games every 4 years for those with impairments? Well, yes, there is. There are some out there. The thing is that saying that and looking at it in that way is the same as talking to, it's a bit like saying to women who wanted to play sports in the 70s, yeah, but don't you have hopscotch? Don't need anything more than that. Okay, it's very similar. So while some businesses do seem to understand that there is a market, and if you look at the trends, we'll have a look at them later as well, okay, around some of the bigger businesses, some businesses are getting it, okay? And they do seem to understand the market, but many, many, many do not. So, let's have a look at some research that's been done around this, okay? Deloitte and the Australian Human Rights Commission, they actually released a report in February 2017, so this is still fairly recent, okay? And it's titled Missing Out, the Business Case for Customer Diversity. Now in it, they present their research findings about the missed opportunities that occur when businesses do not extend the values of fairness, equality and respect to diverse customer bases. Now, this research covered the diversity areas of gender equality, marriage equality, people with impairment, age, cultural diversity, and practicing a noticeable faith. It is well worth reading, okay? And you will find it in the 30-foot drop digital library, or you can just search the keywords Deloitte Missing Out Report, and it will come up, okay? It is amazing and it will blow you away. But for tonight, we're going to focus on the results that apply to impairment, okay? To see whether businesses are meeting the needs of this market. So here's number one, okay? As a customer over the last 12 months, I have often found that organisations do not provide the products and services I need. Now, this is obviously a problem with 27% of the population without an impairment reporting that it is an issue for them. But it's even higher for people with impairment. Okay? And let's face it, if a customer walks into your store and you don't have the products or services that they need, they're not going to buy anything. They're going to go. Okay, missed sale. So, the needs aren't being met there. So, as a customer over the last 12 months, I have usually engaged with organisations with a fear of rejection or embarrassment because of a personal characteristic. Okay? That's huge. Okay? People who don't identify as having an impairment, okay, 14% had a fear of rejection or embarrassment. This jumps to over 1 in 4 when you start to talk about people with impairment. Okay? That's huge. Okay? That's almost a double rate. It's massive. And the thing is that if customers are scared, are they going to spend well? No, they're not. They're going to get the hell out. Okay? And on top of that is I have usually engaged. Okay? Usually engaged. So we're not talking about just one-offs in a 12-month period. This is common reoccurring. Okay? On to the next one. Okay? As a customer over the last 12 months, I was often treated less favourably than other customers based upon a particular characteristic. Once again, often. Okay, we are not talking about one-offs here. Okay, so people who don't identify as having an impairment, 26%, okay, feel that they were treated less favourably. Okay, people with impairment, almost 40%. Okay, 40% that are often getting treated less favourably. Okay, and this one rolls quite nicely and shockingly into the next one. As a customer, over the last 12 months, I have experienced discrimination by one or more organisations. Okay, so not only are people with impairment, okay, feeling they are often getting treated less favourably, okay, they're also feeling like they're getting discriminated against. Okay, look at the difference: 8%. Okay, shooting up to almost 30%. That's huge. You know, this is shocking. This is raw stats that have been taken. It is amazing. You know, people tell me, oh, but you know, we already have what we need in place. It's like, well, actually, you don't. And we will cover what should actually go in place in the next webinar. For now, we're going to continue looking at the actual market itself. So we can see, right, that there is obviously a segment of people in our society that feel that they are not having their needs met when it comes to goods and services. Now, numbers are all well and good, okay? I just want to give you a little peek behind the curtain as to who we are. Who is this segment, okay? And how do we fit into society? The truth is that people with impairment are people, okay? Just like all of us. We all have passions, loves, families, okay? We purchase consumer goods, okay, like food, clothing, and cars. We go to the movies, we go out for dinner, and we go on holidays, okay? There would be people with impairment trying to access every segment of business and industry within Australia, but often finding that they can't. Okay? So these are the people that we're talking about. You know, we own businesses, we work, and we work bloody hard, you know. In short, people with impairment make exactly the same contribution to society as everybody else, okay? And we contribute to the economy. As a result, we represent a market segment to businesses and organisations, a segment that, as I said earlier, a lot of businesses are not recognising and missing out on as a result. Because we're a market segment, we are also able to impact your organisations. Now, how we impact your organisations is up to you. So potential impacts, okay? First up, I want to have a look at the saying, well, it's only a minority, it doesn't matter, they're not big enough to matter, okay? Well, as discussed earlier, okay, we are not a tiny minority, okay? The people and the people around us actually represent quite a large segment. What research has actually found, though, is that on top of that, is that people with impairment are a decisive and influential minority within our society. Don't believe me? Well, let's have another look at the research. Okay? So first up is about ceasing transactions. Now, purchasing power is always in the hands of the customers. And when people don't get what they want, either in terms of product or service, they cease the transaction, right? We already covered that earlier. when businesses don't have the products and services that people need, they obviously don't buy. Now, what the Missing Out Report's done, and it's fascinating, is that they've actually added 2 more factors. And those are respect and fairness. So let's have a closer look at this, okay? So the report shows, so I'll explain the graph. So as a customer over the last 12 months, I've ceased completion of a transaction because I feel that I was not being treated fairly. People who don't identify as having an impairment, 18%. People who do identify with having an impairment, almost 30%. That's a massive jump, okay? And let's have a look at the other factor, respect, okay? In the last 12 months, I ceased completion of a transaction because I felt that I was not being treated with respect, okay? People who don't identify with having an impairment, 19%. Those that do, 29%, okay? In both cases, the report's basically showing that 1 in 5 customers without an impairment will cease a transaction, and this jumps to almost 1 in 3 for people with impairment, okay? And this is when they're not treated with fairness and respect, showing that a negative experience is more likely to drive a customer with impairment away than the rest of the population. Now, what this equates to, okay, is missed opportunity. And the cost of missed opportunities in business is massive. By the time a customer walks through your door or engages with you on a website or rings you up, okay, they are doing it because they have already seen your marketing, which you've invested in. They know what your stock is because you have it on the website, or they've heard about it through word of mouth or something similar. You have equipment that you've paid for. You invest so much into a business as an owner, okay? And when a customer comes in, that is showing a potential return upon that cost. But when they turn around and walk out, that missed opportunity, okay, that hurts. And what it's showing here is that people with impairment are more likely to just, don't need your shit, I'm out of here. Pardon my language. But it's more than that. It's more than just actually walking away, okay? On top of that, people with impairment are twice as likely as the rest of the population to dissuade people from using the product or service, okay? So here we go. I will verbalise the graph. In the last 12 months, I've dissuaded others from using a product or service based upon an organisation's negative reputation in relation to impairment. Okay? Now, the rest of the population, 13%. People with impairment, it doubles to 26%. We are twice as likely to drive other customers away from your business. So it's more than just losing a potential sale that you've invested in, but this person that you're driving away is driving other customers away that, once again, you've already invested in the business, okay? Having customers driven away, it's a big loss. Now, we've seen all this, and we've seen that, okay, people with impairment, they represent a fairly large proportion of the community, and that they're being underserved, they're not being treated right, being driven away, they're more likely to dissuade others. Okay, now one question I have been asked, and it's a fair question, and I love it. Okay, the question is, if supporting diversity in business can actually have an adverse effect, can becoming a more diverse organisation drive my current customers away and have a negative overall impact? Well, this Missing Out study, once again, has covered that, okay? The Missing Out report found that only 13% of people, okay, are negatively affected by a business's diversity reputation. Okay, 13%. And let's face it, in business, every time you make a change or something similar, you will drive customers away, you'll bring others in. and 12%, okay, of the population. Now, the thing is that also you make the changes to try and draw more customers in, okay? 58% of people are positively influenced by a organisation's diversity reputation. Now, what I would like to point out, okay, and I'll verbalise the graph now, is that this result is not impairment specific. Unfortunately, they didn't release those stats. But I find it really interesting because this result includes some very divisive minorities. So, as a customer, in the last 12 months, my buying choices were negatively influenced by an organisation's reputation as supportive of gender and marriage equality, people with impairments, older people, and cultural diversity. Okay? So that's looking at all of those factors. Only 12% are driven away. And bear in mind, this was 2017, okay? We had some very divisive discussions happening at the time around marriage equality, and it still only came out at 12%. Something to bear in mind that yes, you may drive some customers away by including those people, okay? But you'll bring so many more in. So to finish this section off, okay, I want to read you out the most relevant key finding in this report, okay? And that is that customers with impairment are 3 times more likely to avoid an organisation and twice as likely to dissuade others because of an organisation's negative diversity reputation, okay? What does this mean? Okay, when you boil it down, what does this actually mean? Okay, it means that there is a good chance that if your business is not accessible and inclusive, okay, then it is already being impacted. Okay, you're trying to take your, okay, I'll use a boat analogy. You're trying to take your business boat down the river. Okay, you're trying your best to do it, but the thing is that because you're not accessible and inclusive, you've got an anchor holding you back. Okay, by making those changes, you'll be able to evolve as a business much faster and grow as a business. So we've looked at the possible negative effect, but let's have a look at a potential positive effect. Okay, now this is a word that I touch upon quite often in a lot of the other ones: ethical consumerism. Okay, so what is it? Okay, ethical consumerism is a form of political activism based upon the idea that purchasers and markets consume not only the goods that they are getting, but also implicitly embrace the processes used to produce them. Okay, by choosing certain products over others, or even whether to purchase them at all, consumers can embrace or reject particular environmental and labour practices and make other value claims based on the ethical values they hold. Okay? Exercising choice in this way creates incentives for producers to make production practices conform to consumer values. If that's confusing, let me give you a couple of examples that may actually clear it up slightly, okay? So, yeah, successful campaigns waged by ethical consumer movements are things like dolphin-free tuna, foods that are free from GMOs, sweatshop-free clothing, fair trade coffee, cosmetic products free from animal testing, and conflict-free diamonds. These are all items that people have flocked to and in a lot of cases are willing to pay more for because the processes of their actual getting it from raw to consumer coincides with their values. Okay, hopefully that makes sense to everybody. If not, please head to 30footdrop.com.au/live and chuck us a question in the text box. So that's what ethical consumerism is. How can we apply this to impairment? Okay, how does it interact with it? Well, best case study out there. Okay, is the Quiet Hour program. Okay, it was piloted by Coles and has been adopted by Woolworths. Now, when I look at examples of how it's been done right, and you'll find this a lot in the next webinar as well, I like to look at big businesses, because big businesses, they are beholden to their shareholders. Okay, they have the resources to be able to do a lot more research into fields before making a decision. Now, this means that they often get the drop on us, okay, as smaller businesses, but they can also show us the way. So, back to the Quiet Hour. Coles and Woolworths, okay, two of the biggest supermarket chains in Australia. So the Quiet Hour program, for those that don't know, okay, let me explain. Okay, so some impairments make people hyper aware of their surroundings. Okay, they can become very easily distracted. It is very stressful. Okay, I'm one of those. Post-traumatic stress, when I am triggered, I become extremely hyper aware. And when you are trying to look at everything at once, everything is taking your attention. You can't seem to filter out and decide what's important and what's not. It makes activities such as going to the supermarket really, really challenging. Okay? At Coles and Woolworths, what they've done is now every Tuesday between 10:30 and 11:30 a.m, store lighting is dimmed by 50%. The radio is switched off, register and scanner volumes are reduced to their lowest levels, trolley collection has been stopped, and roll cages have been removed from the shop floor. Okay? PA announcements are also stopped, except in the case of emergencies. Free fruit is offered at customer service, and additional team members are available to support customers. Okay? This is an amazing initiative. It makes a great difference to many people. Okay? And even those like myself who may not be able to get there from 10:30 to 11:30 to do it, recognises the step that they've made to do this. And what it has done, it has increased the ethical reputation of these two businesses. Now, Coles piloted it and put it in first. Woolworths, as soon as they realised how successful it was, quickly implemented it themselves. Now, the thing is this increased the ethical reputation. It allowed people with impairment like myself to stop dissuading others from using that service because I wasn't able to access the goods and services. So they're getting rid of that anchor that I was talking about earlier on the boat. They're increasing their ethical reputation. Now, if you search the internet for it, you'll see that it was published all over Australia. Okay? And it had a positive effect on the consumers. That is how ethical consumerism can be a benefit to your business. You're not just making the changes to allow me to come in. You're making the changes to allow me to be a champion of your brand and to allow others to come in and use it as well. You're also making the changes so that me and my party of 10 that we're going out for dinner will use your restaurant because it is accessible. It allows me to go, right, you've designed this so that it adheres to access and inclusion principles. Brilliant, I'm going to recommend this to everybody. So hopefully that's made sense to everybody. And that wraps up the information for tonight. Now, if you don't have any questions and you are going to go, please head to 30footdrop.com.au/live, and down the bottom of the page you will find the links to the surveys. This is tapping in part 3. The survey, like I said, is a 30-second survey, 6 questions. Please, it really helps us out. For those that do have questions, I am going to allow time for you to put it into text. So if you have questions, pardon me, head to that same page, www.30footdrop.com.au/live, and use the text box there and enter your questions. I will give people about 5 minutes to head on across there and do that. So I am going to pause the stream. Well, the stream will still be going, but the scene will change. Okay, we've got about 5 minutes for you to do that, and then I'll come back and answer any questions that are there. And as I said at the beginning, these questions can be on anything, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, doesn't have to be strictly related to what is on tonight. We educate the community through open, honest conversation. So far away. And I'll see you at 6:50. And we're back. Okay, unfortunately, it looks like we have no questions tonight, which is fine. So, look, once again, thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you have enjoyed tonight. Like I said, you follow us on any of your social media platforms, 30 Foot Drop. Give us a like, give us a rating, a review. All of these things help to get these webinars out there. Oh, geez, my hair's a bit everywhere, isn't it? But thank you very much, everybody. Look after yourselves. Look after each other. I'll catch you next time.